Hello people of YouTube, Retro Ed here. So welcome to the channel dedicated to old school video games, movie memorabilia and retro toys. If I'm looking a bit dishevelled and out of breath, I've just had a bit of a fright in the back garden. I was in the kitchen and there was like this most tremendous bloody bang. I turned around and I could just see the waxy imprint of a pigeon that kind of hit my kitchen door. With some serious like momentum. So went out to find the keys, went out like the back, followed a trail of like feathers, which literally led me right to the back of the garden by the shed. Saw even more kind of feathers and this very still bird in the corner. Kind of waited a few seconds, didn't really move. Thought it was a goner. I was cleaning up some leaves and debris yesterday, so I had like a bucket handy, got my gloves on, picked this thing up, and just freaking came back to life. It wasn't dead all along. It was still living. Came back to life, and like Paul fucking Daniels, this thing just flew out of my hand and soared into the sky. Excuse the French, but yeah, a bit of a moment. So it will teach me to go outside. So yeah, come back inside, and the reason I'm here today is to do a video response to the fantastic Andy from the equally fantastic UK Kraut Gaming channel. If you don't subscribe to his channel, then get on the case. He puts out loads of really cool content day on day. There's always stuff he's putting out, and it's a whole variety of stuff. There's some bits on the Switch, some best buys for the Switch, some kind of unknown games. He does like guess the game thing on his channel where it's kind of a lesser known title. You've got to obviously guess what the game is. He's doing loads of stuff in the handheld like emulation space. So him and a couple of the others, including Lee, aka Nerdy Geezer, again awesome channel. Check that one out if you haven't already. Yes, they've got a really good Facebook page, the unofficial Ambernick group, but it's broader than the Ambernick kind of brand, and they look at all kinds of stuff that's handheld emulation related, so really good. So Andy put out more of a community question and a community challenge around guilty pleasures as it relates to cartoons. So I racked my brains a bit, and I do love cartoons. And again, maybe it's not just a nostalgia thing, but I do like rewatching some of the stuff I watched back in the day. But also, I have tried to keep in touch with it as much as possible. And I've got a son as well, who's now 12. So in cartoons, as he's been going old, that's been a good excuse for me to watch some good stuff. And I know that Andy mentions Ben and Holly, which is so good, so funny. Kind of something in it, a bit like Shrek and some of those other things. There's things in there for the kids, but there's also things in there for the adults. The grown-up kids, I should say. So yes, I kind of racked my brains and I come up with 3 cartoons I loved back in the day and I still love now, so maybe that is a bit of a guilty pleasure. So let's take a look at the 3. So no particular order. The first one I'm going to talk about is Ulysses 31, and I'll be honest, I had to blooming Google it because I always forget the number. I looked at it earlier. I'm pretty sure it's 31. And it's in the name. It's a postmodern, futuristic reimagining of the Grecian tale of Ulysses. So, which I really don't know much about, but he in this version, he's taken out the robotic Cyclops. He's really pissed the gods off. The gods have banished him from the earth. So his wife, I think his wife's back on Earth, but he can't see her anymore. He's on this spaceship with the crew, and the crew have been suspended by the gods. Literally, they're floating around the ceiling in what looks like the canteen, going round and round, and you see them in every most episodes. Little glance, think, blooming out, it's not so good, but still he manages to steer the ship with a crew of literally about 4 of them, I think. So you've got Ulysses, you've got his son Telemachus, who's full of energy and enthusiasm. Telemachus wears some sweatband thing. It's like a tennis star. Yeah, happy guy. And you got like this, I can't remember her name, is it Uni or completely wrong? Like an alien female girl kind of character, which adds another kind of dynamic to it. But that's pretty cool. You've got this really annoying robot, and all these cartoons, and maybe it's the same to the current day, but they've always got a really annoying bloody character in these things. Like Mask was like T-Bob, and then it was like He-Man. You've got Orko. There's always one of them. So in this one, you got this little red robotic dustbin guy that you just wish they'd kind of kick into space. He's like really yappy. Sounds like I really don't like it, but I kind of ignored him when he came on the screen, and I do like it. Ulysses himself is kind of the spitting image of one of my secondary school physics teachers, albeit a lot more exciting, better content, a bit more of a chipper guy, and yeah, it's kind of his glowing locks of brown hair and his kind of badass sword stroke laser gun. I think it was, but yeah, just kind of really kind of compelling. Maybe kind of the darkness of it drew me in. It almost feels like a bit of an adult kind of theme in terms of like I say, a bit gothy, a bit horror like. But ultimately it's just like a kids cartoon. But they in the episodes they bounce around the universe trying to kind of get back to Earth. The soundtrack itself is like phenomenal. Like the theme tune, which I'm kind of probably going to nab a little bit and put that on this video, is fantastic. But the actual like effects as it goes through and it kind of really sets the scene is awesome. The action, and it's very kind of Japanese, Frenchy style. It's fast cutting anime, and yeah, the action scenes are just absolutely fantastic. So really love it. And I'll be honest, I've no idea, assuming at the end of the series that he did get back to Earth and see his wife, but I'm probably gonna have to watch it again because I can't remember that one for love or money. So that's number one. So next up, we've got like an early to mid 80s classic, I think, or certainly for people of that era, Dungeons and Dragons. And I was a proper like geek, and actually did have like the D&D and the AD&D kind of books, and kind of a bit of Dungeon Master for one type approach, because all of my mates were way too cool to be into such geeky stuff. But I did like all that kind of role-playing type bits, and I'm probably going off on a tangent, but even like those fighting fantasy books of Warlock of whatever mountain, and all those turn to page whatever, and all the decision-making stuff. So when I first saw this kind of cartoon pop up on screen, I really thought, oh, it must be like linked to that. But aside from the name, and there are obviously dungeons and there's dragons in there, yeah, I think there's very little kind of a crossover, but really good. Quite again, a bit similar to Ulysses, a bit like dark as to how they ended up in this world. They kind of went out to have a decent time at the I guess they're kind of equivalent of Alton Towers or whatever, and they just went on the wrong roller coaster, and then kind of that's one reason. Another reason not to go on a roller coaster, and then they ended up in this bloody alternate world with some really evil dudes. I mean, the bad guy, the antagonist Venger, just looks horrible, and he looks a bit like the baddie. It scared the crap out of me as a kid. The Black Cauldron, like the Disney film, probably from a similar time. I kind of saw that, and that was scary as hell as well. But this guy is pretty evil. He's got this evil dragon. I think it's like a three-headed dragon thing that he whizzes around on. You've then got the Yoda kind of character who's the dungeon master, and there's always little clues that he's linked to the Avenger, but you never really find out what's going on there. You've got like the famous 5 equivalent of all the personalities and the characters. You've got kind of the dominant kind of hero character. You've got the absolute geeky kind of character. You've got like a bit of a cowardly one. You've got that annoying blooming robot equivalent, apart from this time it's the friggin' unicorn Uni, who really used to annoy the heck out of me, but it was a little pet for the youngest kid. Again, I can't remember his blooming name, but So yeah, but I just I found it like kind of fascinating, the storylines. Like all these things are fairly kind of, you know, short lived, the little individual episodes, but then there's the overarching shit. We need to get back to Walton Towers or whatever. You know, how we going to do that? And the dungeon master guy wasn't particularly wasn't massively helpful. So yeah, they kind of moved around, but it was, yeah, good storylines. They kind of ended up, you know, helping people out, putting, you know, some good morals in there. I'm sure none of it kind of I've actually reflected into my kind of day to day life or standings. But yeah, it was a good watch. Again, you know, plenty of kind of action in there. So all sorts. I mean, there's, one of the ladies had like an invisibility cloak. I think the main guy had like a bow and arrow, but it's like magical infinite arrows, which is yeah, every young boy's dream. Had like the acrobat girl, who's like forever doing pole vaults around the screen, but then also jabbing people in the eye with the pole. So it was all pretty good, and it came out really recently, literally in the last couple of days on the swap shop. Someone was talking about it, and I think they confirmed what I thought, in that they don't ever like finished it. I don't think they ever really got back. So yeah, kind of just stuck there, I guess. Hey ho, probably banging on a few years now, but anyway. So yeah, that's number 2. Number 3. So number 3 is probably a little lesser known. I'm assuming will be a little lesser known to lots of you, particularly those in the UK, because I think it was bigger in the US. But it's COPS, and I never realised that it stood for was the Central Organisation of Police Specialists. But yeah, I watched it and almost saw it as a bit of a dumbed down, but like obviously more of a child-friendly kind of RoboCop type thing. So it was set in almost like a New York city kind of equivalent, a bit of a Gotham equivalent. Plenty of corruption going on. So even, you know, some of the town council, the city council, they were kind of up to bad stuff, which was kind of just fueling the baddies, and a bit of money laundering and all that exciting stuff was happening. But so you had these elite cops. That was like the best of the best cops got drawn in from probably all of the police forces across the nation, and they were up against this guy called Big Boss. I can't remember what his proper name was, but he was known as Big Boss, and had a real kind of mafia sounding kind of accent. The guy did his voice was just superb, really, really good. And then he had all his henchmen around him, and they were, you know, complete stereotypes of, there was a kind of a thug, there was kind of a mad scientist person that would just create all these horrible things, go after cops, and it was just, yeah, literally cops versus robbers. But I loved it. Again, the music was fantastic. The animation was a bit kind of so-so on reflection, but still really, really good fun. And I've got loads, maybe it's nostalgia, but loads of memories for it. I don't think it ran for too long. Don't remember watching too many episodes. In recent years, I've been kind of trying to find them on, but they are there. Find them on likes of YouTube, which is pretty cool. And I don't think, I might be wrong, but I don't think they came over here. But in America, so in the US, there were some figures they released based on the cartoon, or maybe it was the other way around. Maybe the figures came out and the cartoon was based on the figures. Who knows? But it was a good series, and if you get a chance, yeah, go and check it out. So that's my 3. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Andy, for setting the community question. Always come up with some really good things that kind of tax the old noggins and get you thinking about stuff. If you've got a channel and you want to do a VR back to Andy and the broader community, then, you know, go for it if you haven't done so already. If you don't have a channel, then just leave a comment against one of the VRs, and kind of with mine, you know, give me a bit of critique. Do you kind of think my choices are a load of baloney, or did you watch any of them and quite enjoy them? Have you got your own kind of recommendations? Again, in particular, if there's some perhaps I haven't come across, I'd love to kind of hear what they are, and then perhaps I can go and scour the internet and watch some of them myself. I'm still watching, quite a few, cartoons and anime stuff. Recently finished watching, and the latest, might be the last one, in fact, the Castlevania series on Netflix. That's pretty cool. If you have gone, we're going to do like a Netflix plug, but there's a lot of really good animation stuff on there, including stuff going way back to like the 80s. I'm really enjoying, in a lot of cases, rewatching the Studio Ghibli. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but the Studio Ghibli, like the Japanese animation kind of company that did Howl's Moving Castle. Is it Grave of the Fireflies? Last week I watched, I'd seen it before, but it's really, really cool. Porco Rosso, like a flying pig, Red Baron character. So those are amazing, amazing films. So yeah, if you've got any kind of recommendations, please shout. Otherwise, as always, I will love you, I will leave you, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks very much.